What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to EP09. All right, we're back for another one. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Welcome back to EP09 Bodybuilding, and we are currently sitting at 3 weeks out of the 2025 Mr. Olympia competition. This is where we really start to see who's dialed in and who's got to be concerned about their competition coming into the show. Starting off today with an update from Ramon Dino. And actually, it's funny when it comes to these pictures. Ramon actually making these a little bit darker in color when he posted these pictures. Maybe he doesn't want to show too much of what he's currently looking like, but guys, I couldn't help myself, all right? We got to see exactly what's going on here. Added a little bit of brightness just so we can get a better idea. Take it for what it is. But for what I'm seeing from Ramon Dino right now, this is one of the best versions of Ramon Dino, if not the best version of Ramon Dino that I've ever seen. I think that we're seeing bigger arms. I think that we're seeing more quad sweep. And I think that we're seeing a lot of detail when it comes to these shots as well. Now, Ramon does show up with very good conditioning. Never really an issue for Ramon. But it's that fullness that I feel like he lacks. This is actually one of the few times that I looked at Ramon Dino's physique, and I really thought that he truly did belong on a Classic Physique stage. Now, funny to say that, where he did say that he has an interest in switching over to the open division. But I really think that this may suit him very well when it comes to this current version of Ramon Dino in Classic Physique. That's if he can actually make the weight. We know that Ramon has had trouble making weight. We know that his coach has had to step in the past, have some words with the power that be, and then him ended up making weight. Not saying anything in particular. But for what we have right here, right now, if Ramon was stepping on stage tomorrow, I think he would do very well. Definitely looking at a dangerous version of Ramon Dino. Now, the question is, where will Ramon Dino place in this current lineup of Classic Physique competitors, absent of Chris Bumstead for the first time in many years, actually? I don't know where Ramon is actually going to place when he stands next to guys without having that standard of Chris Bumstead. Now, we know that Mike Sommerfeld is going to show up bursting full, round as hell. He's going to be showing up at his best, extremely well conditioned. These are some of the calling cards of Mike Sommerfeld. And although many people think that Mike would do very well in the open as well, I think that Mike is very, very well suited for Classic Physique, at least currently. But when you think about who Ramon is going to be standing next to, we've got Breon Ainsley, we've got Rough Diesel. Like I said, Mike Sommerfeld is going to be there. We won't have Urs Kalachinsky. That's a big one that Ramon won't have to contend with anymore. So where's he going to place? Where does this current version of Ramon Dino place in this lineup of Classic Physique competitors? Rough Diesel also looking absolutely deadly right now. We know that Breon is going to be deadly from the back. Almost impossible to beat a guy like Breon Ainsley when it comes to that back double. But Ramon is typically a top 2 finisher when it comes to the Mr. Olympia stage. That is usually what we're used to seeing with Ramon Dino, is him battling it out in that top 2. Will it be any different this year? I'm actually not really sure how he's going to compare to the newest version of Rough Diesel, if Breon Ainsley is still going to be really showing up at his best. We know that Breon's also getting older at this point, but it doesn't seem to affect him when it comes to his age and stepping on a Classic Physique stage improved, you guys, you know? These are the kind of things that Ramon is going to have to contend with. If I had to guess right now, I'd say that Ramon will still be battling it out for the top 2 in Classic Physique. We will be doing our official predictions on the Bodybuilding Breakdown in the coming days. Stay tuned for that. But you guys let me know what you think about this current version of Ramon Dino. And let me know if you think that, you know, is this size factor really going to affect Ramon when it comes to him trying to get down in weight again? Because he does look substantially bigger right now, I will say. So you guys let me know. Do you think this will be something smooth for Ramon? Or do you think that he's going to have trouble again, and everything that we're seeing here when it comes to size improvements could be lost when he does go to step on that scale? You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. All right, next up, we have an update from Louis Breed at 1 week out of the France Pro, doing a guest posing at the Gasp Classic in Sweden. Louis recently announcing that he will go after the very first qualifier for the 2026 Mr. Olympia. And it's been a very successful season for Lewis Breed so far, placing 5th place in Italy only a couple of weeks ago, then actually falling to 6th place when it came to the Europa. But this is a guy that we typically see finish within that top 5. Actually, typically, we'll see Lewis Breed finish within the top 3 at most shows. 2023, he actually placed 3rd place at the Tampa, 4th place at the Texas. Now, that was the show where we had Andrew Jackson first, we had Hunter Labrada take 2nd, Carlos Thomas Jr. showed up and took 3rd place. But my point is, this guy is continuing to move up the ranks. And the France Pro is an excellent pick for Lewis Breed. We know that we have Hassan Mustafa coming into that show, and that is someone that Lewis can compare very, very well to when it comes to just sheer mass. I mean, this guy, look, when it comes to Lewis Breed, nobody typically shows up on that stage with better conditioning. Nobody shows up with harder, grainier muscle. This guy is the definition of a 2025 modern-day mass monster in the open bodybuilding division. Lewis joined myself and Mark's Max Muscle in the latest episode of the Bodybuilding Breakdown. I will leave that video in the description below for you guys to check out. And in that video, Lewis actually says who it is that he wants to stand next to when it comes to being on an open bodybuilding stage. Because you got to think about it. The guys that he stood next to so far have been very, very aesthetic. Very difficult for Lewis to stand next to guys that just have those sheer aesthetics when this guy is sheer mass. So listen to who Lewis actually wants to stand next to. Check it out.
I'd love to stand next to what, in my opinion, is the best in the sport with a physique more similar to mine, which is your likes of Nick Walker. Even Hadi, you know what I mean? Hadi's 5'6" and densely muscled and not, although when he opens up, he has got, relatively good shape, but more on sort of the compact muscular side. So, the likes of Hadi, the likes of Nick Walker, those guys, I'd love to stand next to them because I think my physique is more comparable to those than it is the likes of Quintin and Urs and Mark, who have that more sort of classic shape. So yeah, they're two guys that I would definitely love to stand next to.
Now, there was someone in the comments section of that interview that actually had a problem with Lewis saying that he wanted to stand next to the best in the business, being Nick Walker and Hadi Choopan, feeling that he really hasn't done anything to earn that right at this point. But like I said, this guy has finished within top 3, top 4, top 5, continuously progressing every time we see him compete. I think that for him to stand next to guys like Nick and to guys like Hadi, look, let's be real here. Is he going to beat Nick Walker? No. Is he going to beat Hadi Choopan? No. But he is definitely more comparable with bodybuilders of that type. But look, here's the other thing. The fact of the matter is, standing next to bodybuilders more of your caliber can have its advantages more so than just showing up to win. How will you know how you stack up to the best in the business until you actually stand next to the best in the business? And I do feel like Lewis has earned the right in order to stand next to guys like Nick and Hadi. Look, he has the mass, he has the conditioning, he knows the things that he does have to work on as well. Look, Lewis isn't oblivious to the fact that he needs to work on his midsection. He says it very clearly in the interview that we did, and he is actually working on it. Some of his methods actually really impressed me when it came to how he's actually working on that midsection. Again, you guys should check it out. But the fact of the matter is, Lewis Breed, I think, would do very well for himself and for his bodybuilding career to stand next to guys like Nick, to stand next to guys like Hadi, to just see where he stacks up, what he needs to improve on, and then he can take that information and move forward. This is a path to progression in professional bodybuilding. I want to know what you guys think about that in the comments below. Let me know what you think about Lewis coming in and doing the France Pro. Some of the guys we know that are actually doing that show, like I said, we have Hassan Mustafa. Based on what I'm seeing from Hassan right now, I think that Lewis will be able to defeat him. We've got Stefan Matala that Lewis is going to overwhelm with mass, but Stefan showing up with good conditioning typically. Patrick Torr in his corner, that makes a big difference as well. We've also got Regan Grimes that said he was going to do the France Pro. Although I haven't seen anything from Regan saying that recently, Now, there's something that will be another battle of mass versus aesthetics if Regan does show up for that. So we'll follow up when it comes to the France Pro, but you guys let me know what you think about Lewis's claim that he wants to stay next to some of the best in the business in bodybuilding, and where you think that could take him when it comes to his career. All right, we got the latest and greatest from Nick Walker. 3 weeks out of the Olympia, Nick posting an absolute juggernaut of a picture, you guys. Absolutely unbelievable when it comes to Nick Walker. Staying relatively quiet when it comes to his physique updates, but Nick knowing how to play the game, you know, stay quiet for a little bit, still putting out his training videos, still doing his updates on Instagram, but really dropping a bomb very close to the Olympia. 3 weeks out, firing a warning shot, and let me tell you, this is one hell of a warning shot. Nick looks absolutely ridiculous. Still sitting within the 280s. This is going to be a physique that is going to make some noise on that Olympia stage. And Nick still being favored to win by many more fans in bodybuilding now than ever before. And I actually do think that Nick is going to absolutely shock the bodybuilding world when he does step on that stage. Max Muscle, who doesn't typically even do news updates, had to do an update when he saw this, and he stated very clearly Nick Walker will win the 2025 Mr. Olympia. And that's echoed by many, many fans of bodybuilding right now. But are we underestimating maybe some of Nick's biggest competition? That's one of the things I want to talk about. I'm going to get to that in a few minutes in this video. And Nick absolutely locked in. You guys should check out Nick's training videos. Really, really good stuff. And I don't know what gym that Nick is actually training at, but look, it's actually written on the wall of the gym that he's in. Home of Nick Walker, the Mutant. This is a hardcore gym, hardcore music. I'm telling you, Nick is in a different zone than I've ever seen him before. And in a recent podcast with Fouad Abiad, Nick actually speaks to some of that mindset. What is different now compared to what he has done in the past? Now, that's not what I really want to talk about. What I want to talk about is what Nick said about Derek's comments that he said there a number of weeks ago now. Fouad brought it up again, and I'm glad that he did, because Nick did not hold back when it comes to what he thinks about Derek's comments. Check this out, and then we'll talk about it.
How do you feel about Derek minimizing you as a competitor?
Derek's got a shitstorm coming, bro.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
I think, if I'm going to be honest, I think that was disrespectful as fuck. You know what that is for me? When he talks like that, it looks, and because of how he said it too, it just shows lack of confidence.
Yeah.
My man's nervous.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's nervous, and as he should be.
And here we have the latest update from Derek Lunsford, former Olympia champ, current Arnold Classic champ, and current Pittsburgh Pro champ. Nick Walker says he's nervous. I actually agree with him. The comments that Derek made, the way that he said it, I'm sure a lot of you guys remember, it did come off as Derek seeming not only nervous, but very disingenuous. And he's put out more videos since then where that disingenuous nature seemed to really shine through even more so. We actually did a podcast with myself, Lee Priest, we had Xavier Wills, Max Muscle. We talked about it. And that's affected Derek's momentum going into that show. Without question it has. And the fact of the matter is that compared to what we've seen from Samson Dauda to Nick Walker to Hadi Choopan, his main competition going into this Mr. Olympia at 3 weeks out, Derek looks well behind his competition. Without question, Derek looks behind. I mean, Derek looks like he is smaller. He does not look like he has nearly the separation. And I think that's a sentiment that is bleeding over into the fans of bodybuilding, which is why most people have Derek Lunsford as low as 4th place at this point. Ian Valier actually put up a poll on his Instagram story, and he even said that most people had Derek in 4th at this point out from the Olympia. And the fact of the matter is, we could be making a massive mistake thinking that Derek Lunsford is not a serious contender for this year's Mr. Olympia title, and I'm going to explain why. You guys might remember what it was like going into the Arnold Classic this year. Nobody had Derek winning that show. Everybody had Samson winning the show. It was almost unanimous in the bodybuilding world, and especially when it came to being even this far out of the show. Look, I will sit here and admit, I did not think that Derek was going to have any kind of chance against Samson, because I did not think that Derek looked even remotely close to being ready to step on the Arnold stage. He looked like this, honestly. He looked very close to this. He was eating cookies that Chris Aceto would give him. It just seemed like he was not really dialed in when it came to his attitude going into the show. I based my prediction from what I could see at that current moment in time, just like everybody is doing now. So was that a mistake? Are we underestimating Derek Lunsford once again going into this Mr. Olympia competition? Every single one of us could be making a massive mistake thinking that Derek is not ready based on what we're seeing now from him and what we're seeing now from everybody else. Now, of course, there is the possibility that Derek is not ready. This is not the Arnold Classic. This is the Mr. Olympia competition. We have seen him compete at the Arnold, very big show, the Pittsburgh Pro shortly after, now on his third show of the year, okay? And we do not typically see Derek Lunsford compete in multiple shows. Could be a factor. I'm just saying that could be a possible factor when it comes to him showing up at his best on the Olympia stage. So given those facts, I want to ask you guys once again, let me know in the comments below, are we making a massive mistake by thinking that Derek Lunsford is not a serious contender for the 2025 Mr. Olympia title? Really interested to hear what you guys have to say about that. Only 3 weeks ago, we have so much to talk about. We've got episodes coming up with special guests on the Bodybuilding Breakdown. You guys, this is one of the most exciting Olympias in recent memory. I cannot wait until we finally get to show day. Check out BayouMuscles.com. Use code EP10 at checkout. Swamp Thing pre-workout, you guys, I'm telling you, this stuff is absolutely dynamite. 6B vitamins to fuel you through your entire workout. Check it out. Use my code. Get a 10% discount. Appreciate everyone supporting the channel thus far. But that's it for me in this video. Thank you guys for tuning in to EP09. Like and subscribe.